and windows through which we see the heart of God. Luke chapter 15, commencing in verse number 11. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout the country, and he began to be in need. And he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare, but here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly, bring out a robe,
and a ring,
the best one, and put it on him. And put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Thank you. You may be seated. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Mirrors and windows. In order for us this morning to really get the sense of this text, to really understand the meaning of this parable, you will have had to have lost something. A parent who has lost a child, or if you don't know where your toddler is in the house, or that child has gotten outside the house and has walked down the street 2 or 3 years old, there is a panic that strikes that only the heart of a parent can feel. Or if your child has strayed away, has gone away from how you raised them, it is not the pain of knowing that they are in the far country. The pain comes from knowing what they are doing in the far country. Because the only person who can appreciate the far country experience is someone who's been in the far country himself. Again, in order for you to get the meaning of this passage, you've got to go back up to the first verses where Jesus is talking to Pharisees. Because the Pharisees are having a problem with Jesus, because not only is he the friend of sinners, he's eating with them. I don't think you can get that until you understand what a scandal that was in Jewish life, because to invite somebody to a meal is to invite them into your life and to say to them, you are accepted. Jesus accepts tax collectors, prostitutes, adulterers, sinners of every stripe. And not only does he accept them, but they feel good in his presence. Let me shock your Baptist sensibilities. There is a church in Florida that I visited, a fine, upstanding silk stocking church. Only the highbrow are members of that church. And when the new pastor came to the church, he put a sign over the entrance to the vestibule that would shock many of you Baptists this morning. The sign over the vestibule said, in his highbrow, silk stocking, well-to-do church, sinners only, welcome here. Sinners only, welcome here. I'm glad that Jesus is the friend of sinners, because were he not the friend of sinners, you and I would have to crawl out of this sanctuary this morning. But he looked beyond my faults. He looked beyond my shortcoming. He looked beyond my failure. He looked beyond the flaws in my character. He looked beyond my foolishness and loved me enough to eat with me.
If you have tried multiple oral antidepressants,
saw that, and they said, this man not only eats with sinners, but he welcomes them. And to get the story over to them in a way that would really bring it home, not only to them, but to us, we have got to get our 21st century mind out of the way and get some first century dust on our shoes so that we can understand the gravity, the weight of what it is Jesus is getting over in this story. This is the crown of all parables. It is the evangelium in evangelio, the gospel in the gospel. Which, if you can grasp this parable, it has no equal in all literature. It's one parable told in three movements. The third movement has two parables involved in it. It's not about a lost sheep. It's about a seeking shepherd. It's not about a lost coin. It's about a seeking woman. It's not about a lost son. It's about a loving father. It's not the parable of the prodigal son, really. It ought to be called the parable of the prodigal father. Because the word prodigal means recklessly extravagant. Stay with me. The younger boy is recklessly extravagant in waste. The older boy is recklessly extravagant in want. But the father is recklessly extravagant in love. The boy who left home was lost, and the boy who stayed home was lost, because it is very possible to be lost in the house. Wish I had a witness here. Walk with me around the text. This young boy, in verses 11 and verse 12, he leaves the father's house. But brothers and sisters, I want you to get this. Before he leaves the father's house,